Hello, it's Media Center Ukraine Odesa. That's our third briefing for today. And we are going to talk about possible military and political cooperation between Bulgaria and Ukraine. We are going to talk with Velizar Shalamanov, former Minister of Defense of Republic of Bulgaria and Chairman of NATO Communications and Information Organization. He is with us online. Velizar, hello. Velizar, hello, do you hear me?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks. And the first question will be, not so long time ago, President of Ukraine, Zelenskyy, visited Bulgaria, and military cooperation was one of the topics which was being discussed with Bulgarian Prime Minister. How do you think, what was inside the military package which was discussed between two leaders of our countries?
As Minister Tagarev announced, it was a really comprehensive list of all type of military equipment except airplanes and helicopters. And of course, our government is considering this very carefully. We continue preparation of the next package of help, mostly focused on ammunitions and light weapons. But yesterday, the ruling majority proposed in the parliament that we could provide about 100 armored vehicles, and it is under consideration if there is agreement with NATO allies for replacement of our air defense complexes to be able to provide even air defense capabilities. Of course, most important is that with the visit of President Zelenskyy, the change in attitude, not only from the government and parliament, but great support in Bulgarian society is visible, and especially the meeting of President Zelenskyy with the civil society, with his emotional speech, his openness, his exemplary leadership provided a lot of energy to continue this cooperation with the Ukraine and to strengthen our support to Ukrainian people.
Todor Tordarev, who is known for his pro-European views, have been assigned the Minister of Defense of Bulgaria. How do you think this intensifying of military support, is it somehow connected with his personality, or it's more about the political and governmental course of the country itself?
Definitely the leadership of Minister Tagarev is making difference, but most important is that the current government was formed mostly because of full support of this current majority for change of our course, our contribution to the success of counteroffensive actions of Ukrainian armed forces and our support for the Ukrainian membership in NATO. So it is very important we have Minister Tagarev in charge, but it is really much bigger and deeper support in the parliament, in the government as a whole, and whole society support that is now really consolidated, especially after the visit of President Zelenskyy.
By the way, the altercation between President Rumen Radev and Zelenskyy was caught on video. Afterwards, Radev suggested that the conversation between them should continue without cameras, and he said that he has a certain proposal, certain suggestion for Zelenskyy. How do you think, what was it about? What was the proposal?
I think that, as it was mentioned by President Radev, these proposals are not in military area, but in the area of energy, because when President Radev realized his initiative is over in the area of defense, it is taken by the government, including our delegation in Vilnius was led by the Prime Minister, not by President. So now President tries to play the role of coordinator of energy-related initiatives, but to the extent these initiatives are not in contradiction with our interest and not trying to support Russian interest again, it will be priority for the government, and it is not so important in the future what the president is proposing if it is not fully coordinated and not aligned with the strategy of the government, because Bulgaria is parliamentarian republic and the government is in charge with executive power.
I got you. I got a question from the audience, so please introduce yourself and start a question.
Костянтин Гречаний, видання.
Konstantin Grechany, the Ukrainian Reviewer. The question to Velizar. This is, we can see that there was the summit of NATO in Vilnius. Why there was no unity to invite Ukraine to NATO? And the second question, how do you think, can Ukraine join NATO at the next summit after the war is over, following the same procedure as Finland?
Absolutely confident that Ukraine will be a member of NATO. Actually, we consider Ukraine de facto member of NATO with full support we as NATO countries provide to Ukrainian armed forces and Ukraine as a state. Formal invitation, I'm sure, will come immediately when we are able to push out Russians from your sovereign territory. And I really expect this to happen at the meeting in Washington, where NATO will celebrate 75th anniversary, and with invitation of Ukraine, we'll move from 16 nations at the end of the Cold War to 32 nations. This means that NATO is very successful. NATO is really bringing peace and stability in Europe, especially in Eastern Europe, and Ukraine is really example of what the NATO country could do in order to contribute to the security of Europe.
Якщо дозволите уточнення.
And if you allow, I have a clarification question. The proposal that you've mentioned, how do you think, will there be some additional conditions, or will it be the proposal to join NATO following the quickened procedure?
As you know very well, decisions in NATO are political and based on consensus. So with enlarging support to Ukraine, most of all in Eastern Europe, but in the key old members of NATO, I expect to have more support instead of developing new requirements or new conditions. And what I could assure you, Russia will have no say and no role in decision-making process in NATO, and integrity of NATO is in the core of our strength. So when leaders declare that Ukraine will be NATO member, it means Ukraine will be NATO member, and our effort right now is to help you to liberate your country from Russian aggressors. I hope this could be achieved with this counteroffensive operation this summer, but of course it is not a condition. Condition is that we keep working together to get our Russians from Ukraine, and immediately after that, Ukraine will be prominent member of NATO.
Thanks. I have a next question about the cooperation between Bulgaria and Ukraine. Zelenskyy also spoke with Prime Minister about the resumption of the practice of rehabilitations of Ukrainian soldiers, and about training in Bulgaria for military medical personnel. Do you have any additional information on that issues? How is that going to happen?
First of all, let me stress that already in 2014, Bulgaria took lead for this trust fund for rehabilitation of Ukrainian soldiers and civilians. So intention is we to continue supporting this type of activities and to extend this for training of medical personnel in order to help saving lives in Ukraine by Ukrainians. When it comes to further cooperation, we are discussing here in Bulgaria to really establish closer relations between our research and industrial companies because experience of Ukraine is critical for modernization of Bulgarian armed forces and of course current capacity in Bulgaria in the area of maintenance, overhaul and modernization of equipment could be used on Bulgarian territory to support efforts of Ukraine.
When we talked with you previous time in February 2023, we asked you about the reopening of the Kostenets plant, which had not been operating for 2 dozens of years and now has started producing munition for Ukraine. Do you have any production figures for this enterprise or any other enterprises in Bulgaria working to strengthen the Ukrainian defense?
I cannot refer to specific numbers, but first of all, there is already a consultation process in our government, so Bulgaria to join European initiative for strengthening production capacity for ammunitions and moving to NATO standard ammunitions in order to fill the needs, the requirements of NATO countries, and of course being able to support further Ukraine. Already even with the previous government, additional production facilities were activated in order to extend our production capacity and to be able to provide what is needed for munitions. I'm absolutely confident that current government, Minister Tagarev, other ministers will support any steps of increasing our capacity. It was declared that for the last several months, 5 billion lefts, it is 2.5 billion euro, were received from defense industry producing equipment, munitions, mostly for Ukraine. So obviously there is interest to increase this production and to cover it with European funding in order not to put too much pressure on your budget.
By the way, I cannot withhold myself from asking, about a month ago the Kakhovka Dam was exploded, and when we talked with ecologists and scientists, they said that after Ukraine, after Odesa coast, the dirty water, everything which went into Black Sea will go more to the south, to Romania and Bulgaria. Did it somehow affect the coastal cities of your country? Is there any information about possible influence of this explosion and flooding to your ecology and nature?
It is discussed very much in Bulgaria. Ministry of Ecology, Minister Iulian Popov increased the capacity for testing of the conditions of the water. For now, we don't have any evidences for problems in this area, but we see, in addition to the terrorist act of Russians to blow up New Kakhovka, kind of disinformation campaign against Bulgarian tourist season, so to really frighten people going to our Black Sea. For now, we don't have any evidences for contamination of Bulgarian Black Sea area, and we hope that it will be possible to contain this problem in the Gulf of Odesa. But of course, very much important to share information, to monitor, and to put additional pressure on Russia not to threaten us with ecological catastrophes.
Thank you. Thanks for being with us, and thanks for the briefing and information you provided. I hope to see you again here online or offline. We are going to stay in touch with you. Thank you.
Thank you, and God bless Ukraine.
Thanks. Thank you. It was briefing with Velizar Shalamanov, ex-Minister of Defense of Republic of Bulgaria, and the last briefing for today. Monitor our announcements in our Telegram channel and stay with us.